welcome to the Mixed Media Podcast. If you're new here, the Mixed Media Podcast is a little thing we do where we talk about all things movies, music, and video games. Each one of us, it's only two of us. Normally there's three of us, and each one of us specializes in one of those topics, and we just talk about it, have a good time, and before we start, I want to give a special thanks to a few people. So Rob Sharma, 909 Crime, K Kairos, and Post for supporting us on, I almost said Patreon. I even wrote in my notes Patreon, like our little thing. Not Patreon. We don't use Patreon. Locals. Thank you for supporting us on Locals, the better version of Patreon. And and also shout out to people on Discord and Rumble. Discord has been, a good time, talking with the most direct conversation with viewers, and that's always pretty cool to carry the conversation over after the podcast is over. And props to the people on Rumble for sticking with us and being strong, because there's a lot of you guys. It's like I just randomly looked us up on Rumble, and it was like a random video with over 100 likes or something like that, which is by far larger than any other platform we have as far as I'm aware. Although I'm definitely not caught up with the metrics, I don't really check. So yeah. As I said before, we talk about movies, music, and video games, but today Ben isn't here. So Ben is our music guy, and so instead we'll just only have a movies and video game segment. Although it'll be a little bit strange because Irving isn't quite doing movies thing as far as I'm aware, right? It's more of a financial thing.
Yeah, but it's related. If you want to be a filmmaker, this is very important information, or do pretty much anything art related.
Yeah, so as I said, general art podcast. So Irving will be doing his little topic about titled "How to Quit Your Job," and after that, I'll be doing arguing with Reddit, which is a little segment where we look at some Reddit hot takes and I respond to them, most of which I have never seen before. They're ones that my co-hosts have picked, so it'll be a little live reaction of me reacting to potentially spicy takes, potentially takes that aren't so spicy and that might just be fine. I might agree with, I might not agree with. It's a mixed bag of things. So yeah, and I don't usually introduce, so I think that's it, right? I think I said everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Introductions.
Oh yes, we should introduce ourselves. Yeah, I'll go first. So my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella based out of Mount Carmel, PA, and you should check out my website at Ariella AURIELA.co.
And my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a video game developer and 3D modeler, and I don't have a company yet, but things are happening. I bought a domain, and which I've done before, so it's not a new thing, I guess.
Okay.
But I have a service that I can actually release whatever, for free for now, kind of. We'll see. And I'm not spoiling it yet, but I think I've mentioned it before, probably on the podcast a while ago, maybe in passing. The only issue is servers. They're expensive, and okay, so. Here's the thing with servers. Already off topic, I guess. But here's the thing with servers. If you want to use some cloud service, whether it's AWS or Linode or DigitalOcean or Google Cloud, whatever it is, right? They all have a very nice. Some of them have a free tier like Google Cloud, even though they don't really advertise it. You can use Google Cloud for free for very simple things, like hosting a website, for example. You can have a very simple website as long as it's not very high traffic. It'll be fine. Or doesn't do anything, crazy. Just a static website's fine. So they all, Linode doesn't have other services like Linode don't have a free tier, but they're all pretty cheap, $5 a month for the lowest tier of thing or whatever, and you get a server. It's oh, that's cool. But we don't realize is if you want to upgrade, so you're okay, so personally I use Linode for the current thing I'm doing, and it's okay, I got this $5 a month server, and then so I used it right. To 100% of its CPU usage, because that's my server. You think but it's not I don't have the way that cheap tier works is that it's not a dedicated CPU that I'm given. I'm given a shared CPU. So the CPU I'm using is shared amongst other people. So randomly the server stopped working, and I contacted support, and they were like, there's a shared CPU, and you're not supposed to be using it like this. Please keep usage down to something on average below 70% at all times usually. I'm okay, I did not know this, but sure, right? But I already had an issue with the RAM. They only 512 megabytes of RAM or something like that on that plan, which is not good.
Yeah.
My program uses more than that normally. I had to jump over some hoops and make it a lot slower for it to actually run. I was like, okay, CPU issues and RAM issues. Let me just upgrade, right? When you upgrade, the if you want to use a dedicated CPU, the cheapest tier is suddenly going from what, $60 a year to $500 a year, and that is how they get you. I'm certain that is the path. That is the ladder, and it's like that for basically all cloud services I've used, where it's like, oh, it's super cheap to start with, and you want to do anything that's like not a website, and it's like, oh yeah, here's like a $500 a year thing minimum for like 2 gigabytes of RAM and like 1 CPU core. So yeah, I'll probably end up either letting my program run slow or just running it on a Raspberry Pi at home and then doing some abstraction to prevent people from like accessing that directly, because I don't feel like doing security things on home networks. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, how's your week?
Week was good. This was Holy Week, if you celebrate. Which was good. Got to spend time with you and parents over the weekend. I came on Saturday, so Saturday, Sunday, and I left this morning. So that's kind of why the show's a little bit late, is because I've been very tired from driving and also having to do a few things before getting on the podcast. So if I seem a little bit more tired than normal, that's probably why. But other than that, I think it was a really normal week. Can't think of anything special that happened during it, at least not now. So if it comes to me, I'll say. How was your week in general?
That's fine. I got scammed a second time because I bought this journal thing, right? It's if you're on audio only, you can't see, but it's just a book. It's just like a journal writing. I think you write in. Oh, out of focus. Well, you can see it's a book at the very least.
Yeah.
And it's just an empty book, empty journal thing. And I don't know how much these things go for. I don't know how much books go for in general. It's been a long time since I bought a book, right? So I was like, it was like $50 for 100 pages of empty pages, right? And it's like mild customization, and that the title is my name, stuff like that. I was able to put whatever quote I wanted to in it, or it doesn't have to be a quote, but any phrase I wanted to on the first page. It's nice. And then when I received it, so I got it from Etsy, right? And when I received it, I noticed the packaging said Lulu.com. I was like, what's that? And the service does the same thing. It's just cheaper. So I just got arbitraged without knowing in a really bad way. In which the only service they added was that they let me do it on Etsy, which honestly I don't really care. I could go to Lulu.com. I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And they also messed up my order, so they gave me a second one for free. So I guess there's that as well. Yeah. The quote I chose was interesting history. I wrote, "It's the best way to predict your future is to create it." Right? And do you know who said this quote?
No.
Well, it's typically attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but he never said that. So it's not actually really a quote, because as far as I'm aware, no one knows. I was looking for quotes. I also found another one I liked, which was the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Do you know who said that quote?
No.
Okay. That's supposedly Eleanor Roosevelt, but she also never said that. So, yeah.
A lot of quotes are completely falsely attributed for whatever reason.
It's probably Confucius.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And 99 Crime is in the chat. Sup, 909 Crime. 99 Crime is one of our supporters, so always got to give him a shout out. He has a YouTube channel if you want to check that out. 99 Crime on YouTube, so go check that out. What about news, though, in the gaming sphere? Anything interesting happening on that end?
Nothing I can really think about. I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe either I'm missing things or it's been a slow week, but there's nothing really I've noticed of interest other than normal things like game releases and announcements.
Right. Cool. For me, a few things. So I know there's a lot of buzz around Mario, the Mario movie, oddly enough, right now. I literally know nothing about it, only that people seem to really like it. I'm not sure actually if that's like the the hot take or not, but um, I see that some people uh say that it's much better than expected. It's very simple and childish and whatever. Um, I don't know and much more than that. So if you're interested, just go check that out. I just noticed some chatter about that. Um, and the second thing actually is a news item that Ben probably would have said if he was around, but he's not. So I will do it for him. And if you were on our Discord, you would have noticed him talking about it. So definitely hit up our Discord in the link in the description. But basically, apparently, there's a leak that there's going to be a new Star Wars trilogy, which is huge news. You know, despite most people's aversion to the prior trilogy, and I know Ben said that it seems like a small minority of people who feel strongly about it. I don't. I mean, I think maybe feel strongly. That's true, but like, there's a large amount of people who might actually be the majority who actively dislike how the sequel trilogy turned out. So I don't think it's a minority critique, but they're gonna endeavor at doing this again. Only like, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, I don't remember, after the last one. Given the gaps there have been between these trilogies, that's kind of small. So, we're going to see how that goes. Apparently, the director for this new trilogy is going to be, or the rumor is that it's going to be the director for Miss Marvel, which sounds like a terrible idea. I mean, I listen, I haven't seen Miss Marvel, so, I don't, when a lot of people say they don't like something, I take that into account, but I'm not going to definitively say something is bad unless I've seen it, 100%. But a lot of Marvel fans think that was really bad. I don't really know anything about that either. I just know that, my brother-in-law, 99 Crime says 50-year movie series. Yeah, that's how it's going. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem like a good pick or fit, but it is within the Disney sort of family of products this director is coming from. So, and, I don't know, maybe she knows not Patty Jenkins, what's her face, the head of the Marvel, or not Marvel, the Star Wars cinematic universe, because I should just call it that. It's basically that. Yeah, I mean, don't expect anything good to come out if that's the case, but Ben was posting also in the chat that there is some question as to whether this is actually going to happen at all. And there's a post by someone who's probably important, but I don't recognize their name, but saying a reminder that there have been many leaked announcements or some promises even that have actually been announced at the Star Wars celebration that did not actually come to fruition. One of the most notable ones that this post points out that, like, I completely forgot. I actually thought this movie was going to be made, and I guess it just completely, like, left my mind, I didn't hear the announcement that it'd be canceled, which was Rogue Squadron. That was supposed to be a Patty Jenkins movie. And Patty Jenkins, am I confusing who Patty Jenkins is? Let me make sure I'm not thinking of someone else. Patty Jenkins.
No idea who these people are.
Isn't she the Wonder Woman director? Let's see here. Yes, Wonder Woman. Now, Patty Jenkins is decent. It wouldn't be like, it's not as horrific as the Miss Marvel director. I mean, Patty Jenkins is just kind of, she's competent at putting a film together that's entertaining. And I guess if you're Disney, that's enough. But Rogue Nation or Rogue Squadron never happened, which, that probably would be one of the better movies of that era of Star Wars movies, I would have guessed. And that's an interesting thing to point out. So we'll see if there's a new Star Wars trilogy that's going to be announced relatively soon. If you think that it will happen, give me a +1 in the chat. you think that won't happen, I don't know, give me a -1 or something like that. And let me know your thoughts. So that's all that I have on the film news, as far as I've noticed.
Nice, cool.
Sweet.
Oh, did you say? I don't know. Did you say? You mentioned the Mario movie. Did you say much about it?
No, because I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
If you've seen it, also let me know in the chat what you thought of the film. I mean, I kind of got the impression that most people who saw it and were surprised by how good it was were parents who brought their children to it. But if you went on your own because you already knew it was going to be good, and you dropped in and you were like, yes. And apparently one of the reasons why it's really good, or supposedly, or relatively good, or whatever it is that the Mario creator had a lot of creative control over the film. Part of that creative control was being able to say no to, I guess, plot lines, and apparently he wanted to just be stupid and simple or something like that. I don't know. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, you're making a Mario movie. I mean, you know, it shouldn't be, gunning for a soap opera, status or something like that. That's probably not a good idea. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about Mario.
Gotcha. Is it known that a Rumble chat does not sync with the rest of everything?
No, so let me clarify that real quick. So if you're on Rumble right now, you see the chat on screen, but unfortunately the live chat window does not sync with the stuff on screen. But I do have you pulled up at all times. So I will see your chat, I will read your chat, and I will reply to your chats, either via text or verbally or whatever works. So don't be afraid to chat just because you're kind of disconnected from the Restream API. I would love to have a replacement for Restream that includes Rumble. So if there is one already, I don't know that there is, but if there's this one already that can integrate chats from Rumble, please let me know. I know StreamYards exists. I don't know what their fidelity for their Rumble, implementation is. I know they have some implementation, but StreamYards is a really popular platform in general, so maybe I should go look into that. But I remember last time I looked into it, it was kind of not for our purpose, but I'm not entirely sure. So let me know what you think. Okay, cool. Shall we move on to our first topic?
Sure, yeah, let's go.
Okay, so if you are new to the show, we do the show in segments. Each one of us gets a little turn, a little spotlight, whatever. My segment will be How to Quit Your Job, which is in the episode artwork right now. And Nathan will later talk about some hot takes from Reddit and whatnot that he hasn't seen yet. So if you want to stick around for that, that'll be coming probably within another, hour or so. So, if you want to come back later, that's totally fine. I'm not offended. You don't care about making money. Well, I don't know what's wrong with you, but if you don't care about making money, then you can skip forward to that. That's fine with us. But right now we'll go over to the mixed media movie segment, and we'll see you on the other side. Here we go.
Mixed media movies.
And welcome back to Mixed Media. If you've been watching this whole time, thanks for sticking around. If you're listening in post and podcast form, and yes, we do have a podcast form that is very out of sync with the show, which I will be able to remedy relatively soon. You can check out a link to that in the description. But first, we should reintroduce ourselves to make sure that people know who we are. My name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
And I'm Nathan Nestor. I'm a video game developer and 3D modeler.
Yes. And today we're going to be talking about money. Now, we've talked about money a few times on this podcast before, and if you're familiar with the podcast, we typically talk about art, and we get a little fluffy with it. We talk about our opinions on different things, techniques, skills, philosophies, and stuff like this. We tend to talk about our particular art forms, and that's what we normally do. But what I like to do is break out the business end, which that was an unintentionally awesome sounding line. But once in a while, I like to remind you that if you don't have the ability, the freedom to be on your own as an artist, to make your own way. It doesn't matter if you're going to be running into the corporate system, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're going to be a game dev and you don't even plan on, owning your own studio. You plan on, I don't know, working for a big company or whatever. This is still all relevant because for us artists, our marketability, our flexibility, I should say, is directly related to our financial ability. If you're an engineer, let me put it this way. If you're an engineer or you're someone with a certificate, even better actually. So if you are, I don't know, a title manager, I can't remember what you call them. I know someone who does that. You have to take like 3 exams and there's like 10 tests or whatever. Your credentials are your floor, if that makes sense. So like your credentials are your flexibility, right? So if you have to quit, or if someone fires you, or if you have to take risks at your job in order to try to gun for the next position, and you're scared that you're going to piss someone off and you'll end up in some rivalry that you hate and sucks the life out of you, whatever it is, that if you're in those fields, it's not so bad because your certificate, the gate is closed to everyone but people with that particular qualification, right? That's what makes, contracting, official contracting so lucrative, right? Because to be a contractor legally, you need a certain amount of whatever. You get the point. For us artists, most of us don't have that. I happen to be trained as an engineer. I was trained as a computer engineer. Although that's a little bit different than what I've been talking about just because of the expansion of that field in terms of the labor force. So the competition is nuts. But, I'm not in the worst case. But let's say you went to school for something else. Like, let's say you went to school for, I don't know, art or of some sort. I don't know. Or let's say you have, dual degrees that have nothing to do with each other. Like you have a painting degree and then you also did like something else that was, I don't know, political science or something like that. And then you're like, wow, political science jobs, either they're, I want to tear my hair out or I don't make any money or there's no job, right? And you find yourself in that position. Or you were like me, you had a somewhat useful degree, whatever it is. You need to have the flexibility to, it's like, it's the common phrase, F you money, right? You need the F you money, right? You need to be able to tell someone, F you, I'm going to go do my own thing, and on a moment's notice, have the financial flexibility to not worry about starving. Now, I want to tell you a story before I get into the specifics of something that really impacted me as someone who was in college studying computer engineering and wanted to become a filmmaker and wanted to own my own company. I was working at the digital media studio at my college, and one of the alum came in who had also worked at digital media lab, basically. He had come in, and he had quit his job in computer science to become a filmmaker, and he was in the Baltimore film scene, which, if you know anything about the Baltimore film scene, it's really, I don't want to use the word avant-garde because that gives it a lot of too much credit. It's really just bad, like, people pretending to be cool. No offense to y'all in Baltimore, but it tends to be.
I love you say that. I would say no offense. I mean, just got to be objective. I want to say. But yeah, he was in the Baltimore film scene, and the only reason you stay there is if you're doing avant-garde stuff, quote unquote. And he had quit a CS job to pursue that. And he had taken up the starving artist mentality. It is such a pervasive mentality. It goes with, when you think of like garage bands, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna like start a band out of my garage and it's gonna be great. We'll all sleep in like, on the couch in like some
tiny studio apartment, and then we'll find the gig somehow. It'll all come to us somehow, right? Or the starving artist mentality with this filmmaker, which was, I'm going to couch surf amongst the whole film community here because, you know, that should work. And, you know, I have no prospects of making money, but I will make a feature film and it will work somehow. It'll just work itself out, right? Everything will just work itself out. If I have to starve for 10 years, it is worth it. If I get the right script in the right hand, I make the right demo tape and give it to the right person. This is the most dangerous mindset for you as an artist. You do not, I repeat, do not have to starve. Let me repeat that again for those in the back. You do not have to starve. And so he came in, and his eyes were like dark circles, like literally like a raccoon, like that dark. And he's like mumbling through his sentences, and he's got a bunch of film gear in his hand. He's like, "Hi, Deborah, I'm coming in to to say hello. I was stopping by in between shoots." And you know, Deborah's like, "Oh, so how's it going?" He's like, "I'm so happy I chose this path." And of course, there's no happiness on his face. And I'm standing there looking at him like, is this my future? Is this what I have to do in order to make it in the film world? I need to couch surf and basically become more subhuman than I was in college to begin with. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be a good idea. And so that stuck with me, and I was like, whatever I do, I need to do it smart. And what I discovered, happily enough, while I was working my computer engineering job that I quit after only a year and a half, what I discovered was that it is not only possible, but is actually criminal that they deny you this knowledge in school. You should learn everything I'm about to tell you in high school, because it applies to literally everyone, and it involves a lot of the most important decisions that you'll have to make as a human being, whether you're artist or not, frankly. You know, and people don't understand these things, end up screwing themselves, and they become a wage slave. Do not become a wage slave. And that's not to say if you enjoy your job or whatever, you're not a wage slave. But if you don't enjoy your job tomorrow, but you have to work it for the next 5 years to get your retirement, you're a wage slave. That's what that means, right?
More than 5 years, likely. I mean,
right? Yeah. If you
5
get
years
lucky.
is, I mean, 5 years that'd be quite nice.
Yeah, exactly. But if you feel the need to drive yourself to insanity in order to you know, to continue functioning as a human being, continue your living standards and whatever, support your family. That's bad. Okay. How do we do this? Now, big disclaimer before I start talking. None of this is financial advice. None of this is legal advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no credentials in that manner. I'm just a human being telling you my opinion. You can take or leave my opinion. And, yeah, so don't sue me. Okay, so what did I learn in that year and a half while listening to a whole bunch of stuff? I learned that you should not pay for the gurus to tell you anything. There's a lot of people, especially on YouTube, you know, or whatever platform, frankly, on the video platforms, right, who are grifting off of get-rich-quick schemes, whether it's NFTs or, I don't know, whatever else, right? Or drop shipping was a thing for a long time, you know, like, get rich quick was drop shipping. I'm going to distill this down to timeless principles, meaning this is how people got rich, and this is primarily geared towards people in the United States, just because financial systems differ too much between countries for me to say for sure it'll work in your country or not, or in my opinion will work. But in the United States, the rich have a few principles that they stick to in order to either stay rich or get rich, right? Is it fair? No. So I want to get that off the table, because a lot of people will say, well, are you saying that I'm just as likely to get rich as someone who had a dad with $1 million? No, you're not. You're not. like, of course not. If you start with more money, this process literally just gets better. If you start with no money, though, the process is still possible. That's what I want to get across to you, right? Is that you have the access to the tools, even though you might not have equal outcomes, which, no, like, that's just not possible in life, period. If you want equal outcomes, you're out of your mind. But you can do some of the same things. You have access to some of the same tools, even if you have no money. Okay. What are these principles? Number 1, avoid taxes. Legally. Legally avoid taxes. Now, this seems to be rather like, oh, I just save a percent, or I save some percent of my taxes that I pay every year, and that just seems to make sense. I'm just saving some money. It's not about just saving money. It's about the expense being useless to your life. So if I'm spending money on even a luxury item, I'm at least getting enjoyment out of it. You know what I mean? If I'm like buying restaurant food every day, I'm at least getting calories out of it. I'm feeding myself at least out of it. But if I'm paying taxes, I get literally zero out of it. There's no benefit to taxes. And we'll come back to that point later, because it'll become way more important.
You might want to qualify. It sounded like you meant taxes are useless in general.
No. Yeah, I'm not saying abolish taxes. Well, I'm not saying it in the strict sense that taxes shouldn't exist, right? But I'm saying, what I am saying is that your personal finances don't get better. Your life doesn't get better by you voluntarily paying more taxes, right? That's not going to help you in life at all. And the rich understand this. This is not loopholes. Do not think these are loopholes. There is no such thing as a loophole. This is one of the dumbest talking points that I've ever heard, is the idea of tax loopholes. Taxes don't have loopholes. The law is written the way it is written. If there is an exception for some random item, that is on purpose. You are incentivized to do certain things. You may not agree with some of those incentivizations. That's totally fine. I don't agree with some of them as well. But it's not like, most taxes are like going through some secret wording on page 962 that's 2 paragraphs or whatever, and if you just interpret it just the right way, you don't have to pay taxes. That's not how this is. What we're going to do is do what the legislature is telling us is supposed to be incentivized via the tax code. We're just going to do the incentivized behavior, and that's why they're tax advantaged to begin with. That's all it is, right? Okay, so 1 is avoiding taxes. Legally. Always legally. 2 is compound investing. Now, if you are familiar with finance stuff at all, maybe you don't understand compound interest anyway, but compound interest, do you know what compound interest is, Nathan?
I recall learning it very long ago in financial literacy class, but I know what interest is. Compound interest, I don't remember how that works, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Here, I'll draw it on my little notepad here. Let's see.
You have a digital whiteboard, but
yes, but I don't have anything. I don't have my iPad on me right now, and I know if I tried it with my mouse, it'd be terrible. Okay, so here, see if I can get this in frame. You can see my notes for today, which are very sparse. But on the other side here, you've got oh gosh, this is hard. We've got a linear graph, and we've got what looks like an exponential graph, right? So if we know the difference between linear and exponential, right? One is just for every dollar you put in, you get $1 out, right? Or whereas exponential is for every dollar you put in, you get some square out, right? So that dollar squared, or that dollar cubed, or whatever the exponent may be. Compound interest acts exponentially, right? So that top one, there you go. That top one there. Compound interest acts exponentially, which is super important because anything that gives you compound interest is going to behave exponentially. And what gives you compound interest? Most good investments. So, what doesn't give you compound interest? Your wages, right? So making, you might think it's great. You get a 10% raise like every 2 years or something like that, which just about keeps up with inflation, I suppose. And you feel good. You're like, oh, my prospects of a raise are really nice. I might get a 20% raise in, I don't know, like 4 years or so, like in 1 year or something like that. That might all seem well and good until you realize that all of that acts basically in linear or stepwise fashion, basically. Trying to make more money by just advancing in the workplace is really slow. And what I mean by that is even if you're a doctor, like a surgeon, right? And you try to become the world's best surgeon or whatever, it's always going to be stuck on the available pool of money and how much pie slice you can take out of it. It never exponentiates, meaning that doctor could have invested in something that would have given him compound interest instead, and he would have been way wealthier, way faster, right? And of course, if you start with more money, as I said, you get more money quicker when things are compounded, right? So that's why, we are we are in different situations at the start, but we can still take advantage of the same tools that can give us compound investments, right? Investments with compound interest, and we'll come back to that. Number 3 is quote unquote, because this is a buzzword that people misuse, quote unquote passive income. No income is passive. So let me start with that first. You cannot make money literally doing nothing, right? All income requires some input, even if the input is just some initial investment in time, and it's and that's it, right? You still have to invest some time or some money into the thing. Passive income is really important because your time is your most valuable asset. If you're not currently in a business right now and you're not currently on your own as a filmmaker or whatever it is, you don't realize just how much your time is worth to you more than just the money you could make doing something else, right? So for me, I could make probably, I don't know, there are jobs that I get frequently that I'm effectively being paid $100 an hour, right? To do them, right? I sometimes might make the decision to not do that because my time is literally worth more, not because I can make that $100 in some other way, but because I'm essentially trying to invest my time to get the compound time, return, right? So I might be building something in order to make a bigger machine that can spit me out $300 an hour jobs, right? Namely, maybe I'm working towards an employee, which I unfortunately don't have, right? So that's passive income is what helps us to save our time, which will have compound returns. It's not like the 1 minute you save is going to yield you just one more minute of productivity. That 1 minute you save is going to end up yielding you exponential productivity in terms of your time. And we'll see how that works later. And the last principle that anyone who is wealthy likely knows is leverage. What is leverage? Leverage is a nice word for debt. It is a way that you can use OPM, a term that means other people's money, to do whatever you need to be able to do, right? Most common example would be a credit card, right? So a credit card, when you purchase something on a credit card, you are, borrowing money from some bank entity, at least somewhere down the line. And, if you don't pay it off within a month, you'll have to pay some compound interest. You have to pay some compound interest. So if compound interest is really good on the investment side, what is it really on the debt side, it's pretty bad. Yeah, right? It's pretty bad. You don't like that. But leverage is important because that compound interest might be less than the compound interest that you might get from your investment. Meaning, I might have a line of credit from some local bank, like yield that is 10% compound interest, right, to pay off, which is actually, adds up really quickly, if you can't pay it off. But I know for a fact, or at least near fact, that if I took that money and I invested it in something, whatever it is, that I'll yield a return of 15% compound, right? My effective compound return is 15 minus 10, 5% compound, right? Meaning I'll make 5% net year on year. After year 1, I make 5% more, but then after year 2, I make 5% more of the 5% more from last year, right? The compound quality of it.
No question.
Yeah.
What would be the point of using credit if you already have the funds?
So you don't use up all your funds.
But what is you're still using funds regardless, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yes.
you still have to pay it.
This is a great question, and this is exactly why leverage is so important. You can leverage some multiple of the assets that you already have, but it's a multiple, right? So let's say I have $100,000 in my bank account. I can borrow against that bank account, depending on a whole bunch of factors like creditworthiness and a whole bunch of stuff. But depending on the factors, I could potentially borrow up to $500,000, so long as I keep that $100,000 in the bank that's loaning it to me as collateral. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gotcha.
So me having that cash on hand, I don't want to spend the dollar from my bank. I mean, I'm not saying not every situation is that simple, right? Like, it's not as simple as if you can leverage, you should leverage, right? That would be very, very bad to do. Hold on.
Also, I assume this is not financial advice, so.
And none of this is financial advice, especially when it comes to debt. It's very person-to-person specific, very situational, because debt can be dangerous. Because what if it doesn't turn out that you can make that 15% compound, right, off of your investment? Well, now you're stuck with the 10%. And if you can't pay that off, really bad. So, debt is dangerous. But debt is a weapon. The reason why, like I said, if I have $1 in the bank account, I can make it $5 effectively by paying some 10% on it. You do the math and you're like, actually, it makes more sense for me to have 5 times the amount of investment in the thing that's compounding. I'll make way more than the interest on the loan that I'm taking out. Rich people, successful business people, borrow for everything. When I say everything, I literally mean everything. I mean, you might be thinking to yourself that, wow, Jeff Bezos, he has 3 yachts. He must have bought those cash so that he never has to worry about bills ever again. No, that is not what he's doing. He's paying as little as humanly possible in down payment for each of those 3 yachts, so that he has money for more yachts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
he's putting, if he's got a $5 million yacht, and to finance it out, he only needs to put 5% down. He's only putting 5% down. This seems very backwards to people who are used to sort of the Jeff Ramsey or Dave Ramsey's style of getting financially secure, which we're going to come back to later. We're going to address James Ramsey, because I don't hate Dave Ramsey, and there's some important stuff that he does teach people who are in very particular situations, but it's not good, in my opinion. It's not good general advice what Dave Ramsey does, and we'll come back to that. But Jeff Bezos, he's putting as little down as possible because he knows his money works better when it's in his hands than in someone else's hands. He makes more money when the money's in his hands than if he were to just avoid compound interest on the debt. right? What might this look like for you if you are Joe Schmo on the street, right? What it might look like for you is you don't have a camera and you're a filmmaker. And you literally cannot afford the camera for a job that someone's telling you, man, you're a great cinematographer, I love your work, but the show that I'm about to produce that I would love to make you a cinematographer on with a 5-year contract, that is your dream show, you absolutely need to bring your own equipment, your own camera equipment, could happen, and it needs to be something of the caliber of an Alexa. So, like, we're talking, like, the cameras, right? Like, that's what it has to be. And you go, oh, shucks, I don't have the money for that. What are you going to do? Are you going to be silly and just say no because you're afraid of some compound interest when the job pays you, like, way more than that compound interest, whatever be, and maybe there's some risk there, right? Because you could always, the show could go under or whatever, and you have to assess all those risks. But or are you going to borrow money to buy that ARRI Alexa? But here's the terrifying situation: if you don't plan correctly, you won't be able to borrow the money. That's the terror of that people realize when they avoid debt all their lives, right? Is they pick up a credit card, they pick up a credit card to do this transaction, which is deadly. Because the credit card has 25% compound interest. That, I mean, maybe it's possible for it to be worth it.
Is that 25%, like, over the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
APR. So, if you can't pay it down, you're stuck with that 25% APR. And then, I don't know, maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't, but that's way more risky because that could end your life, your financial life at least. By the way, let me say this because I've seen too much of this happen before, and it's really sad. If you're in over your head in debt, your literal life is not over. A lot of people kill themselves when that happens. There's something called bankruptcy. It actually alleviates you of all those obligations. It is a rough path, but a lot of people get through bankruptcy and end up being wealthy again. So just to say that, because unfortunately it's actually really common that people don't understand that owing people millions of dollars is not literally the end of your life. A lot of people think that's literally the end of your life, and it's not. So just want to put that out there. Anyway, so yeah, that's what leverage is for. It's for those investments that yield more than the interest on the debt itself. And all of it comes with risk. Okay, so to go over those 4 principles again: avoiding taxes, compound interest, passive cash flow, passive, quote unquote, passive income, and leverage. With these 4 concepts nailed down, which you won't learn just from me blabbing right now, you've got to go do your own research. This is going to be the difference between this episode and the person who's grifting. Is I'm going to give you everything. I'm not going to ask you to join some online course. I don't have one, right? What this is hopefully a jumping off point where you can sort of dive into different subjects, and maybe we'll cover some of those subjects on the podcast in the future to let me know if you want them. But hopefully they can be the beginning to your understanding of how to become free from wage slavery. Okay. So, now, you're young, and unfortunately this advice is going to be less and less predictable the older you get. Not unuseful, but like if you're 45, you have a lot more variables and a lot less time, like literally on Earth, for this advice to make 100% sense, or not advice, this opinion to make 100% sense, because none of this is financial advice. But listen anyway, because maybe you can take some of these principles, right? I'm trying to give you principles, not instructions, principles, so that you can apply it to your own life if you think that it's a good idea after doing your own research, right? Okay. The first thing, as an artist, or as any entrepreneur for anything, that you need is to be good at what you do. There's a lot of people I've seen complain on forums, in chats, about not being able to make it at their craft, but they suck. Nothing will help you sucking. No, nothing I say right now will help that you suck. The only thing you can ask for is just pure sheer luck, right? That like somehow you suck and maybe you bribe the wrong person, the right person at the right time or something like that, and then you get like some, you know, some breakthrough or something, and then you hope that you can hold on to the success. I don't know. But what I do know is that if you suck as a filmmaker, it doesn't matter what freedom you have because you suck. So, get good is the first step. But getting good is for life. So, that means that it doesn't matter if you've gotten to the first rung of the ladder already. Guess what? Gotta still improve. Gotta keep practicing, gotta keep doing. Whatever it is that you do, you've got to keep doing it. Okay. Gotta get good. At the same time, you've got to make money. Fact of life. Don't be the starving artist mentality. Being hungry is distracting. Not knowing whether you can pay your rent next month? Highly distracting. Not being able to marry the girl of your dreams because you have no money to afford a ring? Terrible for your mental health. And guess what happens when your mental health suffers? You can't do anything good, right? Like, you have to take care of yourself in order to do good things. People, I don't understand this idea that you can not flourish as a human being, but then somehow flourish in your particular craft. This is not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. So instead, what you've got to do is you've got to make money. And that means you might have to take an L. You might have to take an initial L. I took an L. It was very rough. I probably, if I had set myself up since I was 18 or something like that, I wouldn't have had to taken that L. But I was where I was, you know, in college when I realized what I wanted to do, and I was where I was after college when I realized what the real financial truth about things was, right? So I have my own initial condition. I have to play with it. If you're 18, you could probably set yourself up pretty good where you're actually doing something that you enjoy and make money, right? For me, I was a defense contractor working at a missile defense company, one that does great work, and I have no qualms with, but I did enjoy it. It was literally like internal turmoil staying there for more than a year. But I had to do it because my financial freedom depended on it. Why? Because in order to invest in something that gives you compound interest, you need money. In order to invest in something that gives you passive income, passive cash flow, you need money. If you want to have debt, access to debt, you need money or its equivalent. You need either literally cash or you need assets, right? Things that are worth money, which you need to buy, right? The only thing that you can do is avoid taxes because you're not making any money. But then you're not making any money, so what the heck is the point, right? So you need money in order to take advantage of the principles that I talked about earlier. How do you do that? I suggest that if you are going to go to college, which is not a given, and in fact, probably for most of you is not a good idea. Like, frankly speaking, unless you're getting there, you're going there for a massive full ride, and you're doing a degree that's actually either literally helpful, like you will be a better artist by the end, which for most colleges that will not be the case. I was not a better filmmaker for taking film classes at Hopkins. I will tell you that 100,000%. No offense to my Hopkins friends, but most people came out of there really sucky filmmakers, frankly. Right? I took a few film classes, and I knew immediately why, because they suck your money and give you nothing in return. Most college is going to be like that if you're going to go to school for your particular art form. So that's probably not a good idea, but I don't know what college you're looking at. I don't know the particular situation. You've got to assess that yourself.
I definitely hear people say, successful artists say positive things about college and how, you know, set them up for success and stuff like that.
Yes, that is definitely possible. So I'm not saying it's 100% a bad idea. I'm just saying I know there's a lot of pressure from society, from your parents, all this kind of stuff for you to go to college. Please, please, please actually think about it first and then decide whether you want to do that. Because let me give you an alternative reality. It might sound bad at first. You might be like really averse to the idea, but what if you became a truck driver instead? What if you became a truck? What if you got a CDL? Takes
That's
like no time. Wait, just give me a second. Make $100,000 a year, right? You might have to work a year maximum as a truck driver and already have the funds to have financial freedom. And like we talked about at the beginning of this segment, you've got the financial bed now because you've got the CDL, you've got the experience now. You are now in a different class of people, in a gate-kept class of people, right? So now, if anything goes wrong, you pick up your skills and you just go move some stuff around, right? I know for me, if you told me that, that's just not for me. Like, it's just not for me. I would not do it.
You need some initial funding, right? Because, well, I guess you could have leveraged debt for the truck.
The truck you can either lease or you can there's many options if you need a truck. Many options.
Gotcha. And it can't be. I was okay. I don't want to I don't mean to diminish the work of the truck driver. I'm gonna say it can't be that hard considering it is the most common job in any given state. I'm pretty sure. So.
Yeah, it's not hard to acquire, but it's a very hard job.
Right. Yeah.
And there's not enough of them.
I wonder if it's because it's very common because people don't realize how hard it is, maybe, and then they do it like, wait, they're already there, and they become stronger for it probably anyways. So I guess that's good.
Yes, I will say anecdotally, my one of the people who lives in the apartment building that I'm in right now, I think he's like maybe 30 or something like that. He's only 30 years old. He drove a truck for I think 4 years, maybe, or 5 years, or something like that. He's effectively semi-retired right now because he made so much money. I mean, he really busted his butt though. Like he unhealthily probably drove, but some people are made of that stuff. You know what I mean? They could just do it. They can just do it. But he's sitting on like I think over $100,000 in cash right now, waiting on the right investment opportunity for him. And he's doing odd jobs here and there, like literally working 1 day a week, basically, just to maintain his 100K, honeypot, right?
Gotcha.
So, yeah, really don't underestimate what you can do if you're willing to just not go to college. There's truck driving is literally just one example out of like a billion, right? Of things that actually make way more money than you think. So think about that. And this is in contrast to me. I was a computer engineer. I was making between 70 and 80K, right, as an entry level engineer. I mean, I got raised after the first year, but you get what I mean. Compared to and I have tons of debt to acquire that job, tons and tons of debt to acquire that job. Compared to someone who just went straight from high school and is making easily 70K, just doing something that required 6 months of preparation for a test. So, really think about your options there. But that's one way to make money. The other way to make money is to actually just get into your field immediately. So, if you're a filmmaker, this would be, working for probably it's not going to be being a production assistant. Don't do that. Don't make minimum wage. That's never advisable, right? But if you're a filmmaker, that might look like setting yourself to work at an ad agency or something like this. And you might hate advertising, you might hate that kind of video work, but guess what you'll be doing? You'll still be learning and acquiring skills as you make money, right? So even if you hate it or you really don't like it, it's at least somewhat related, and try to do that as much as you possibly can, would be my opinion, right? So if you're a game dev, for example, you want to own your own game studio, it might be worthwhile to by the way, this just has to be continuous, right? Like, you don't have to spend 5 years in a game studio. You could spend 1 year in a game studio, and then you're like, okay, I've acquired the knowledge of how teams work in a in this game studio, or some something that's hard to understand from the outside. And then you quit, and then you make more money at some other place, with your skills. And now it's just about money, right? Like, you can do whatever you want. But I would but my opinion is that you need to make money to do any of the things that I just talked about. I saved up, I think I started off with like something like $30,000 in the bank, and I was able to quit. That is not actually that hard if you are single and you're living, with your parents for a bit, or if, that's why I said this works a lot better when you're younger, right? But even if you're not, if you have your own house and you've got a family or whatever, it might just take, instead of 1 year, 1 year and a half that it took for me to save the right amount of money for you, it might take 3 years or something like that. But these years are required. And they just have to be the way they are. You have to make money. Unless you're blessed with, inheritance money or something like that. Then you can just skip this step. Which is why it's better if you have money, to start with. Okay. Now, once you've got good skills, good enough to actually, work in your field, and you've made money, now you can do a bunch of financial calculations to figure out whether your initial condition is what you need to do next in your initial condition. In fact, let me find, let's see here. There is a great spreadsheet that I'll post in the chat right now. I'll post it in both chats. Let's see here. It's called the Cash Flow Cruncher. It's from a company that I am not sponsored by, so don't think I'm shilling for them or something like this. Here it is in the Rumble chat, and here it is for everyone else. But this calculator right here, you should use it even if you're just working, just to get used to it and get your mind around how financial stuff works. This will give you a good idea of where you should go from now. So if your initial condition is that you're going to have a whole bunch of credit card debt because you made some mistakes, life isn't over. You need to fix those mistakes, though. You need to know what to do correctly. You can't just, meme about and expect... You can't just be like, I'm going to pay it down, bill by bill. Yeah, do you know how much money you're going to be paying over, the next, 10 years of your life? It might be so much. There's so many things you need to know about your initial condition. And I can't tell you about those, which is why I am not your financial advisor. It's also because I'm not qualified to be. So do your own stuff by checking out that spreadsheet in the chat. Once you do that, though, once you understand your initial condition, you'll understand whether you have to do one of a few things. You need to destroy vicious debt, like a credit card debt that's not productive, which almost no credit card debt is productive. It could be in theory, but most of the time it's not productive. So it's not leverage, right? You need to destroy bad debt, or you need to invest, or you need to... What was the third thing? Destroy bad debt, invest. Let's see here. Or you need to figure out where to move money to avoid taxes, right? So you need to do one of three things. Likely it won't be the tax thing, because likely you're not making enough to go into the next tax bracket or something weird like that. It's not going to be the tax thing, likely. Likely what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to either destroy bad debt or invest. You should be investing and destroying bad debt as you are making money anyway, right? So, but let's just say we take it step by step in terms of how things have to go. Bad debt gets destroyed with either good debt, oddly enough, which would be taking out a loan to pay down the loans, which can be quite advantageous in different situations. So let's say if you have 25% credit card debt, but you can get a 10%, well, that would be really good. But let's say it's 15% cash out refinance of your home or something like this, or you can get a 15% cash line of credit from your business. Then what you can do is you can turn your 25% credit card debt into 15% by paying down the 25% with a huge sum of cash. That's all math-based. So I can't tell you what's correct or not correct. You have to use the calculator and you have to understand the math behind it because you need to be able to make your own spreadsheet and decide what is the best thing to do right now for you. What you might surprise you is that it might be more beneficial to you if you have some bad debt. Let's say it's student loans, which if the student loan didn't get you the equivalent value of you paying down that interest, it's bad debt, right? It's not productive, right? It's not leverage. You know, if you have those, I have tons of student loans. My wife Steph has way more than even I do, which is just mind-boggling. Not her fault, but it's we have a lot of debt, right? And it's all bad debt, right? So I understand that situation. I'm not paying down that bad debt right now because the math makes no sense for me to. I mean, they're not in repayment because of the whatever programs that have been going on since COVID, right? So I don't have to pay them down right now. But even if I did, I would not be paying more than the minimum because the math told me that's the best thing for me to do. It's just all math. It's all math, right? It's better for me to invest in something than to pay down that bad debt.
Does that interest compound?
Yes.
So at some point it might not actually be worth it anymore.
No, but I calculated out for like I've done the calculations. Like, let's say I was in my current financial situation perpetually until I die. It still wouldn't make sense for me to pay more than the minimum payment.
What's the percentage on like a student loan typically?
I think it actually varies quite a bit. I think it can be anywhere between like 7% and like 14% or 15%. Like,
it sounds high because that's a lot of like money to begin with. Typically, at 14% on top of that.
Yeah, I think some of the Advantage loans like you can get for 4% or something like this. Not sure, but yeah, it's it's not good debt at all, right? But my minimum payment, because it's student loans, it's not based off of some calculation off of what I owe. It's based off of what I'm able to pay, right? So because I can pay lower than what a normal debt line of credit or something like that, what would be forcing me to pay, because I could do that, I will do that perpetually, and I will pay less money out doing that while also using my money in productive ways than paying down the loan. So it is not as obvious as like, oh, I have so much debt, I need to get rid of it to lower my monthly bill. No, this is dumb. Rich people don't think like that. They say, oh, I have so much debt and some of it is bad. Let me figure out if I need to take out more debt to make it better. Let me figure out whether or not I need to invest in something that will yield more money, that will exponentiate into this big machine that makes the debt look like ants. That's the way you need to be thinking properly. Let's say you don't have bad debt. Let's say you're ready to just hop into investing and you want that compound interest. What ways can you invest? Lots, infinitely. I mean, you can invest in your cousin's, like, I don't know, auto shop if you want, like that's always a possibility. But, there are a few traditional categories that people think of. There's the stock market, there's real estate, there's bonds, there's gold and silver and all the other precious metals. There's crypto, right? There's NFTs. Don't do that. The NFTs are not an investment. Not most NFTs, at least. Maybe any of them. But, and by the same token, this would be the same thing. I'd be saying the same thing about trading cards or Pokemon cards. Like, that could be an investment. Most cards are not an investment, though, by analogy, right? That makes sense. Okay. So, let's see here. Where do I go from here? So, I'm not going to go into each one of those categories because that's a whole talk in of itself. And if you want some idea of where I think the economy is now, etc., go check out the episode I did on SVB Bank failing. Go check out some of the prior episodes on economics. That's not what this is going to be about. It's not going to be about the specific pointers of what you should do right now, because right now is a very unique time, and every time is a unique time, but this right now is really unique. So general advice, just throw it all out the window because it's basically all useless. But what I will say, though, is that real estate tends to be the one that makes the most sense for literally everyone. There's a reason why really rich people own a lot of property. It's not just because they enjoy it. I mean, that's also it. But poor people, or like people who are not rich, right? Us, the others, right? We tend to think of a rich person's expenditures as all frivolous. Like, oh, they bought like a Bentley. Oh, they bought like a private jet. Oh, they bought like 100 acres of land with a mansion on it. Whatever it is. Oh, they bought a painting, a famous painting. Yeah, those things are there for them to enjoy. But guess what happens for rich people? What they enjoy are also investments. And that happens when you're really rich. It becomes even easier to do that because you can afford the things that you enjoy that are also investments. You can afford that Bentley that's going to be a classic car like in 10 years. You know what I mean? You can afford that painting that, as long as it doesn't get destroyed, you can resell later, for like literally 3 times the money. Your private jet might be yielding you cash flow by renting it out to people when you're not using it. You might make money off of that private jet, etc., etc. Do not think of the lavish lives of the rich as simply just being what they do. You need to actually literally think that same way. You need to have your own kinds of Bentleys and your own kinds of whatever. For me, I've got camera equipment I need, some of which is more expensive than old me would have bought, thinking that I was being financially prudent. Wrong. Dumb, right? I have, I want to say, I don't have that many lenses in the grand scheme of filmmakers, but I have like 6 lenses, right? 3 of them are like really expensive. I mean, most YouTubers would just not buy it, and I think that's a shame. That's a shame that they wouldn't buy those lenses to yield a better benefit out of their work, or an easier workflow, or whatever it is. But that money that I put into that lens is not gone, because the lens is the type of thing that I can resell in 15 years and still expect some large percentage of that lens to still hold value. Because a lens is that type of investment, right?
Do lenses appreciate, out of curiosity?
Depends on the lens. Most of them don't. Most of them depreciate. But they depreciate very slowly, like extraordinarily slowly. So I could actually, during COVID, they all appreciated. My lenses became more valuable than when I bought them at, for supply chain issues and all that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to apply this to my situation. The issue is like things like computer hardware depreciate so fast, it's insane.
Yes, but that's a different kind of investment in the sense that the productivity output, right?
Oh yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
The productivity, it might be worth it. I'm just saying, like, in terms of things that could make money by selling it or renting it out, however that is, like directly, instead of like me doing work or something like that, that with it that yields the money, just like directly like selling it in some way or whatever.
Yeah,
gives money. But can't think of anything like that would be immediately relevant to me.
Yeah, in gaming, what would that be? Not sure.
Also, there's like digital too, which is like a kind of unfortunate, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bad thing because your overhead costs are really low. Then that's what that means.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever art you're doing, think about the things that are your Bentleys. So you might want. I mean, for me, in my situation, it didn't make sense to buy an Alexa camera. I was not going to get work that required an Alexa camera frequently enough for that to make mathematical sense. The loans that I would have had to take out to get it would yield too much monthly pay and would actually hurt my business and not help it. So instead, I have 2 different cameras that are also expensive to rig up and all the things, but they've paid for themselves rather rapidly, actually, even though it took a huge dent out of my savings, if that makes sense, right? And their resale value is non-negligible, right? So find your own Bentleys. But the other things, so if you're in the art space, you got to figure out what those things are and what the smart investments are. I can't tell you what they are. But outside of the art space, you need to be thinking about big macro financial tools. So that would, again, be stocks, real estate, other stuff, right? Let's ignore stocks. Let's go straight to real estate because it's the most likely to be helpful to you at any given point in time, right? Why? You have to live somewhere. You have to live somewhere, right? Like, there's no choice. You have to live somewhere. And if you're not going to live in your parents' place forever, which for human flourishing, you need to move out of your parents' house. That's required, right? For you to grow up and, like, you know, become an actual functioning human being. You need to move out of your parents' house. So, you need to live somewhere. There's only two ways to live somewhere, other than living, like, freeloading, right? Is you live somewhere by renting a place, or you live somewhere by buying a place. Only two options. When you rent a place, you are literally shoving money into a furnace. You are literally taking. I rent right now, and I'm looking for a house right now. So, you know, I take my own advice, right? Like, renting is taking money and shoving it into the lava pit, getting nothing but heat. Like, that's all. Like, that's what's happening, right? When you rent the place that you live, there's no yield. You get no percentage on the place. It's just expense. It's just pure. It's almost as bad as taxes, except you actually get at least, you know, a place to stay, unlike taxes, which gives you literally nothing, right? So, you know, those are your two options. So obviously, I'm advocating that you buy a place at your earliest convenience. And I, in my opinion, would not just buy any place. I would buy a place that has a few factors. One, it actually is a good investment, meaning you're not in a place where it's likely to devalue rather rapidly because of crime. It typically is the number one reason, actually. You know, don't buy in inner cities. I don't care if you want to live in one, just don't buy one, and go commute if you have to. Like, don't buy in inner cities. It's a terrible idea. Also, your life will be hell. Take it from personal experience. But buy somewhere else, right? It needs to be safe, so don't buy on flood lines. Don't buy in places that have wildfires. Don't do that, right? Buy a house that the investment makes sense. But more importantly, buy a house that does principle number 3 as well as principle number 2, which gives you passive income. Passive in quotes, right? But passive income. Buying a home, in terms of investing in the home itself, tends to yield compound interest. A low compound interest, but still compound interest. That compound interest is typically at least inflation, which makes a house a good store of money, right? So if I want to make sure my money is making enough money to stay the same value, buying a house tends to be a good idea to do that, instead of putting in a bank account where it's much more likely to rot, right? And the value of that money goes down. Typically there's no interest-bearing account that's going to give you enough interest to make up for inflation, right? So there's that. But if you can cash flow your house, you can get that compound interest for free using leverage. So we're going to combine all 4 of the principles that we just talked about, which is avoiding taxes, compound interest, passive income, and leverage, all into one decision, which is buying a house. How so? You are not going to do the dumb thing, like we talked about, and buy a house 10% down. Does the loan require you to put 10% down? Oh, it requires me to put 3.5% down because I'm a first-time home buyer, but I want my monthly payment to be lower. Are you insane? Okay, your monthly payer would be like maybe $10 or like $50 lower or something like that, but you will not have that $10,000 extra, you know, that you didn't have to put into your home to go buy, I don't know, another home, maybe a car, off of the same minimum down payment. You see what I'm saying? Like if I'm only required to pay 3.5% down on the house, I can always, if for some reason I want to pay down the house earlier, I can always do that later when the math makes it make sense. You see what I'm saying? I can always pay down the debt later. Yeah. But if I give it all up at the beginning, I have no choices. So you pay 3.5%, right? Don't be dumb. Oh, but there's mortgage insurance. If you do the math out, literally amounts to nothing in the grand scheme of opportunity cost, right? So don't worry about the down payment. 3.5%, and none of this is financial advice, right? For those of you just tuning in right now, but it is my opinion on what, makes sense to me when I look at the math, right? So put minimum down payments, and we're going to use leverage, other people's money. Whose money? The bank's money, right? We're going to use other people's money to pay for the house, so I can keep as much money as I possibly can on me. In my scenario, I've got tens of thousands of dollars in the bank account, like I talked about earlier. From my job, I've been able to keep that money because I've been able to make enough money to keep like 95% of that money that I saved from when I had my job. I'm not going to willfully spend all of that on buying a house. That's hard-earned dollars, man. I'm gonna spend it. I'm gonna stretch those dollars as far as possible, and the way that's allowable is through leverage. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to get compound investing. Actually, we're going to skip that one. Let's go instead to passive cash flow. Passive cash flow is me buying a duplex instead of a single family home. What does that mean? That means I can rent one side and live in the other. Simple. It's called house hacking. It's like the trendy term for it, right? Because you're hacking the financial system because you're able to get a duplex. I don't know. Well, the real hack here is that you can get a mortgage as a first-time home buyer for 2 units, as long as they're attached, right? Without any extra qualifications, which is OP. Meaning, like, you don't have to, like, make more money. You don't have to, like, do anything in particular. You can get those 2 units, actually up to 4 units, I think, for a lot of loans, or maybe 3 or 4 units, without having to switch to a business loan or having to buy them each separately or something weird like that, right? That's the hack. Meaning I can use leverage to not just get me the house I live in, but a house that cash flows. Cash flows. What is cash flow? Cash flow just means that I bought something, I put some initial investment of time and money into something that now relatively passively gives me cash back. I earn my time back, I earn my money back relatively quickly. For me, in my area, I can cash flow a house to $400 very easily. $400 a month. That might sound very little. Like, I can't quit a job on $400 a month. Excuse me. No, you're thinking like a dumb person again. You're thinking like a dumb person again. It's not about the $400 a month being enough for you to live on. It's about the $400 a month being that much closer, first of all, to living on your own. But 2, that $400 a month becomes the seed for a down payment on house number 3. You see? You understand? And guess who's paying for that? Not you. Not you. That's the point, right? When you have that person in your home, and when I say cash flowing $400, I mean after my own mortgage. Meaning I'm not even paying my own mortgage. The other unit is paying for the mortgage. The renter, the person who's shoveling money into my furnace, right? Is paying for my mortgage and paying for the mortgage of the other unit. And I net after all the expenses accounted for, CapEx accounted for, all the contingencies accounted for. I net $400 cash flow. Meaning I'm actually probably raw profiting like $1,000. But it turns out to be something more like $400 once you subtract out everything, right? That passive cash flow is now time I do not have to spend making $400, which has a compounded effect on my life. Does that make sense? Like, now that I don't have to make that $400, it has a compounded effect because of the time that I can spend building something instead, getting better at my art or whatever or my talent, right? Whatever it is, that is way more valuable. Also, it does number 2, compound investment. But I'm not paying for it anymore. I'm not paying for the investment anymore. So I'm cash flowing $400, but what I'm actually making in compound interest for free, like, I mean, I put my initial money in, but other than that, it's just basically for free, is I'm getting equity in both of the homes, which appreciate at compound interest. Do you see what I'm saying? Meaning
Yeah.
my net investment into the property is actually the mortgage I'm not paying, the mortgage I'm not paying on the other side, plus the $400. You see what I'm saying? So that could easily be $2,400 or $3,000 or whatever it is. It's going to be area dependent. But that means I'm actually making $3,000 a month. You do realize that for free. Some of it's just being locked into the equity of the homes. I can get that money out easily by, number 4, leverage. I can borrow against that now. Do you see the magic that's happening here financially? You start to buy your own freedom back, essentially. You know? Oh, you're muted.
Hello?
Oh yeah, now you're not muted.
Okay, yeah. With the duplex though, you don't have to like actually do things, you know?
Yes. Because
Like, real
nothing is
work.
ever passive. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have a duplex, you have to manage the property. Meaning, like, you know, if the toilet breaks, you have to, like, you know, fix something, you know. Honestly, it's as passive as you want it to be, because if you really wanted to do, you could just give it up to a management company and pay them some fraction of the rent or something like that, but your cash flow will suffer. So it's all math as to whether that's worthwhile to you, because, again, going to fix the broken toilet yourself is what? Time. What's your time worth? I can't answer that question for you, right? It really depends on your situation and what's going on. I will not be getting a management company, you know, probably for the first few years at least, to manage the property for me, because I need that cash flow for my particular situation and for the economic situation that we're in right now. I want cash, right? I want dollars. I don't want it to be burned away by hiring someone. Okay. And now we've got principle number 1 being followed by doing some investing into some real estate. How does that happen? How do you avoid taxes, right? Well, real estate is tax advantaged investment for a variety of reasons. Some of which I actually don't fully understand myself, because there's some ways to move stuff around, leverage, and all that kind of stuff in order to advantage taxes that I probably will never do in my life. If it happens with my properties, I have an accountant who's doing that, right? Like, it's probably not going to be me who's doing that. But there are some more straightforward ways that you're tax advantaged. One, you're not taxed on the appreciation of the home. This is every investment, by the way. So this is just investing 101. You're not taxed on the appreciation of the home until you sell it. Meaning, you don't ever get hit with the bill if you never sell it. So let's say instead what I do is I borrow against the house. Am I paying taxes on that? No. But I could have just as much money out of the house as the house is worth. You see what I'm saying? like you know, what
does it mean to borrow against the house?
It means I offer my house as collateral for cash.
I understand. Okay.
If you refinance a home, I used that word earlier, that means that you are basically you're selling your mortgage to another mortgage company to give you a new mortgage. And that usually resets the equity of your home. So like if I own 50% of my home by now, but I really want to get the cash out of the house, but I want cash, I don't want debt, and there's many reasons why you might want that, I will reset myself down to, let's say, 10% by selling my mortgage to another mortgage company. It will give me a new mortgage and then give me the cash difference of that 50 to 10, if that makes sense. So if I have $1 million property, I might be able to pull out, $500,000 at a moment's notice by refinancing my home. If that makes sense. Okay. So that's one way to avoid taxes. The other way you avoid taxes with homes is what's it called? Basically when you trade homes instead of purchase them. I can't remember the term. There's like a fancy huh?
I have no idea what that's called.
Yeah, there's a fancy term for it. I'm going to blank on it right now, but you can go look all this stuff up. One resource that's just a basic resource. I'm not sponsored again. For basic knowledge, I would not use it for anything other than basic knowledge. There's something called Bigger Pockets. If you look them up on YouTube, I believe, look up their website. They have good articles on understanding some of the terminology and stuff like this, and they just explain it in very good, simple terms. So yeah. So that's where I'm going to stop for this episode on this train of thought. But let me recap the world I just built for you that you didn't know exists, probably. You are an artist. You want to work for yourself, or maybe you want to work for someone else, but you want the flexibility to be able to get there however you need to get there. You don't have any way to get there in some fast way, you don't know someone or whatever, right? You can start by having something to offer the world, whatever it is, and you might hate it, but whatever it is, and you make money. While you're making money, you're getting better at whatever you do. If you're a filmmaker, you're making things, right? And you're balancing your time with your work and getting better at your art, but you're still, you're putting in the effort. That whole time, you're not starving. You're not crying every night because you don't know whether you're going to get enough money this month to pay for your rent next month. And you're able to flourish because maybe you can buy some equipment if you can't practice otherwise, right? That's a good investment, is to buy stuff that'll allow you to practice. And you save money. Once you're done saving money and you've done your financial calculations and you understand the finance world well enough, I put the resource in the chat on both Rumble and Restream for the rest of the streams. You can check out that calculator, put your stuff in there, and start to get a good idea of where you should go next. You might have to spend a few more years after the few years, if you're young. You might spend only like 2 years saving money, maybe 3, depending on what you need. After that time, you can then go ahead and start attacking whatever is preventing you from growing, which tends to be bad debt.
Hear me? Hello? 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 I'm not muted. Am I muted? Hello? Oh, yeah. You just cut out for some time. Oh, again. Okay, I see. Oh, I think you're inaudible to the audience. That's unfortunate. So wait, on the stream, I guess it looked like I was just sitting here. Did you mute yourself accidentally or something? Like when things got reset or something? But for those who are listening in and can't hear Irving right now, he was wrapping up his topic anyways. So at least I guess you missed like the conclusion paragraph, but yeah, he was just going over all the stuff and saying it seems like a pretty good alternative to the starving artist type thing where you starve as an artist and
hold on, give me a moment to test real quick. Okay, so my bars are going up on my end for when I talk. So let me know if you can hear me now. 99 Crime.
So if you didn't hear him, he just asked to let us know if you can hear him. So
yeah.
I can real quick join on say Discord I think I hear you when you talk, but you hear me as in
no, you said that before I asked.
Oh, okay. Wait, let me join the Discord and see what happens.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Oh, he says he hears me. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're good on Discord.
Okay. Sweet. Excuse me. Okay. Basically, to conclude, real quick, it is much more of a pleasant future for you if you have a guaranteed path to $1 million within 10 years of your life, or whatever pace you end up wanting to take that at. That's really in your control, which is the fantastic part of it. Regardless of whether your business succeeds, you'll have a financial foundation that allows you to continue to keep pushing your business forward and sustain yourself and your family, for sure. And honestly, build generational wealth. Like, maybe your life was just poo. Like you just, maybe you never stopped sucking at your art, right? But you kept trying. But now you have something to pass on to your children, even, right? Like, it's the better way to live because it makes math. It's just math. Like the math tells you it is, So yeah, I would just consider using this video not as financial advice, of course, but as a jumping point to different subjects to study. If you have any questions on this topic, hit me up on the Discord. I'm always on there. I answer, at least within a day. Like I answer rather rapidly. So if you want to get a hold of me, you have a few questions about like resources that they would need on specific thing I said, or like questions about how to do a specific thing or how I've done specific things, hit me up in the Discord. Link is in the description. Frankly, you can hit me up on Locals as well if you just hate Discord for some reason. You can join our Locals for free and message on there for free. Although to do get access to the premium equipment features, content, you would need to be a member, but you can actually just message and post on, not post, but you can message me for free on there. Just go check us out at mixedmedia.locals.com. So, yeah, that's my primer on how to not be a starving artist.
Nice. Cool.
Sweet. And if you like stuff like this, if you find any use at all to you, please let me know in the chat or wherever, because, some of these episodes do really, really well. Some of them are like average, some of them are not good. And I never know like why, like one over the other. But let me know in the chat, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and whether it was a good idea to do episode on this kind of finance stuff. Okay. So shall we go to arguing with Reddit?
Sounds good, sure.
Sweet. So that's the end of my segment right now. I'm gonna go run and put the battery in to my camera so I can come back. But before I move on to that, I will pass you over to Nathan in the next segment, and he'll explain to you what arguing with Reddit is. So here we go.
Mixed Media Gaming.
Welcome back to Mixed Media Gaming, the gaming segment of the Mixed Media Podcast. At the moment, we're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties, so Irving is currently not with us at the moment because his camera died, and so he's going to grab a battery, I guess, to recharge it. And I also actually just me right now because Ben is absent for the day. So yeah, I guess I should explain what arguing with Reddit is for those who don't know. That is what we'll be doing today. And basically, it's where my co-host, or in this case, my singular co-host, chooses some Reddit hot takes that they found on the internet, and I react to them live. So for most of them, I don't know what the post will be until I just see it, so you get my live reaction of what it is. And yeah, sometimes there'll be hot takes, sometimes there'll be lukewarm takes, too. Depends on what it is. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree, and yeah, hopefully I say something insightful occasionally. So. Yeah, that's what we'll be doing. Previously, we if you haven't been watching live, the previous segment was Irving's movie segment where he talked about, well, he didn't really talk about movies, he talked about general art and becoming financially free and how to quit your job, as the little graphic still shows on the screen if you're not listening on audio only. I think he's back. I think I've stalled enough. I hear background noises. I don't know. Oh,
am I back now?
Yes.
Sweet.
Is
right.
Your microphone the right one?
Oh, maybe on Skype it switched or something when I reconnected. I'll fix it. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Before we start, let us introduce ourselves. So, my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and game developer.
And my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
Cool. All right. So, yeah, I'm ready to get into it. I gave him the whole spiel.
Okay, sweet. All right, let me switch views here real quick to our classic arguing with Reddit view. Got to put Nathan in the hot seat here. Let's see. There we go. Oh. Name is left on the screen.
Oh.
There we go. All right, Nathan's in the hot seat, and I'll be pulling up the hot takes that were found for him. I should have told you to get to Nathan since Ben is not here, but I forgot about that.
I actually struggled to find one. I don't know. I feel like gaming hot takes. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, I actually had more trouble today than usual too, so mine will be a little bit weird. So I'll start with that. Let's see here. Pull this up. So this one is from. Let's see. Oh, hello. That's cropped wrong. Of course. Oh, they're all cropped wrong for once. Oh my gosh. What did Reddit do with this one? The formatting is very strange on this one, apparently. Let's see if I can find a view. Okay. We can somewhat see that one. It'll be a little bit jank looking, but that's fine. Okay, so, oh, you're muted.
Oh, I just said okay, yeah.
Okay. So this one says, the simple message at the start of the game, setting the tone. And there's no hot, that's why I said it'd be weird. There's no hot take specifically in here. But I actually wanted to just know your thought on, sort of exposition text at the front, or mood text or something like that. This particular game, it says, Darkest Dungeon is about making the most of a bad situation. Quests will fail or must be abandoned. Heroes will die, and when they die, they stay dead. Progress autosaves frequently, so actions are permanent. This game expects a lot out of you. How far will you push your adventure? How much are you willing to risk in your quest to restore the Hamlet? Okay. What will your sacrifice to save the life of your favorite hero? Thankfully, there are always fresh souls arriving on the stagecoach, seeking both adventure and fame in the shadow of the ...
Okay.
So this actually, the reason I picked this as well is because this had some absurd amount of upvotes. Yeah, 13K upvotes.
Currently 52 people looking at this apparently as we speak. So.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently this is an agreeable sentiment. What do you think about it?
I guess. I mean, I don't know if it really deserves this many, of votes, but I mean, Reddit seems kind of random. So I mean, these things just happen. It's just a screenshot of some text. But yeah. So like the starter game is like it's kind of like the packaging of a physical box, right? If you have like a physical item you're selling or whatever, it's like when you get the iPhone, for example, right? And it comes in like the box and you're unboxing it or whatever. It's like, oh, this feels like a premium product or whatever. It does kind of set the tone for the item you're about to receive, or it even works the other way. If I bought like an iPhone screen protector, for example, I really don't expect like a premium box if it's like a cheap, if it's like a standard screen protector. There are some, I guess, really expensive ones that are supposedly very durable and stuff like that cost a lot of money, and maybe those might have some premium unboxing experience, but the standard screen protector is going to be pretty simple, just a box with some graphic on it to contain just screen protectors and maybe like instructions manual on how to apply it and stuff like that. Maybe some wipes to wipe down the thing. But anyways, the packaging is going to be simple. It's going to kind of typically matches the vibe of how it is. Sometimes you'll have things that come in like cheap premium, like it's not a premium item, but it comes in more premium type of packaging. Sometimes you might even find the other way around, where you have a premium product, but they kind of skipped out on the packaging. So the question is, does this actually matter? Like, will the consumer remember, or will they be influenced at all by like the that initial experience? Like when you unbox the iPhone, does the iPhone unboxing have to actually be very smooth and very nice looking? Could they just put it in like a random like cardboard box and like maybe people will be weirded out at first, but assume there's no precedent, right? It was like how it always was. Would they sell less iPhones because of that? I think they would sell less iPhones, and the reason being is not like I understand why like this would be the case, but there's a whole award thing for best package in I forget what it's called. Let me look at a packaging award. But yeah, packaging is a whole big segment of marketing, and there's something called packaging awards, packagingawards.com. That's not the one I'm thinking of. It's like it's not named something like that, it's not named something that's like best product package award. I don't know what I think I found Die-Line Awards. That's what it's called. Yes. And they just do it. It's just a packaging award. I wonder who won. So, I'm on the 2020s page for some reason. Best of show was Figlia. I don't know what that is.
Okay. Why not?
Figlia. I think it's a beauty product. No, it's non-alcoholic aperitif. I don't know what that is, but that's what that is. So yeah, apparently they're good packages. But yeah, I mean, I just assume it's probably important if they have an award based on it, And that's a whole segment of marketing. And marketing, there are these things called, is it the 3 or is it the 4 Ps? Are you aware of this?
Not by that name, at least. 4 Ps, whatever that is.
It's 4, I think. Yes, it's product, place, promotion, and packaging. Am I making that
Product, place, promotion, and I guess that makes sense.
I believe the 4th one's packaging. I could just be making that up, to be quite honest. I could just be fitting that in. 4 Ps of marketing. Okay, this is kind of a jank. I just made that up, straight up. Okay. It's product, price, place, and promotion. Packaging is not in that. But, it's just... needless to say, packaging is important. That's also called... The 4 Ps are called the marketing mix. That's what it's called. Marketing mix. So, I guess that'd be considered part of product. But, yeah, there was more. I see what's useful. I haven't played many games that actually have, like, an introduction, like, text like that. I can't actually think of one that has introduction text. There are many games I've played that have, introduction cutscene, or obviously you see things like the logos of the companies that were involved. Sometimes you see some interesting little like graphics, whatever. But yeah, I don't think I can't actually recall any game I've played where it's just like here's some text when you start. So yeah.
I mean, I will say, like, Well, so what do you think about like text as the tool though? Like, I mean, just what's like, would you do that? Was this corny? Was this not corny? Like, does this like, get you in the mood? Like,
It doesn't come across to me as corny. It gives the game it treats it very in a grand way, I guess, if you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
And like the game expects a lot out of you, and like how far will you push your adventurers? This idea of like permanent death, things like this, gives it like a very grand vibe, which I guess that works, right? You go in with like, wow, this is like the tone has been set. Similar to maybe like a opening narration or in like a movie or something like that. How that might set the tone, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I think this is fine. I haven't played the game. I know what it is, and what it's about, and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I said it also fits like the general theme of the game, so it doesn't feel like this is just not representative of the game. No, obviously it's representative of the game. So at least it's not lying to anybody. So yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's that one. All right, so the next one is yours, Nathan. If you want to explain what it is while I pull it up.
Sure. This one comes from r/gamedev. The title says Goal 1 accomplished, Goal 2 retention. Looking for discussion. So it says, hey everyone, I'm looking for discussions and or recommendations on how to increase retention in small mobile games. I'm not going to read the entire thing. That's essentially the basic gist of it, is trying to increase retention in mobile games. And the person mentions that the money is made via advertisements. And as far as I can tell, there are no like in-app purchases or anything like that. Nothing like that is mentioned. So they're trying to just the mobile market is a whole different game than like the PC and console market. Even the PC and the console market are also different games in terms of like how you become successful in them. And the mobile market is the one I am least knowledgeable about. But what struck me as kind of strange is I was under the impression, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that retention is not really that is good in a mobile game with advertisements, but like the power play is like just sheer volume of people, and then you make a new game. You just keep making small games like this. Now, when I say this, you might be like those catch-up games, and like they're like not good. Typically, they're very stimulate the monkey brain for a moment, and then like you throw it away after like a day, right? But I think you can even like an artful game, and yes, I am roasting catch-up and saying they're not artful games. Even in artful games, you can have short experiences, right? It's almost like a painting, right? Well, some paintings, you could examine for a long time. A lot of paintings, I don't know. I don't examine paintings, so this is like something I shouldn't say, But I'm sure a lot of paintings you kind of just look at it, you're like, oh, cool. You move away, right?
I think you probably are saying it. I think that is right.
Yeah,
a lot of people
maybe.
Yeah.
That is how they're typically consumed, I feel like. But maybe they're not consumed correctly, I guess. So I guess I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But there's got to be some, like, I'm struggling to think of an art form where, like, it's really weird to, like take it in for some time. But I guess that's the thing with art, right? Is that there's so much you could take in a lot of times. So it's like, that's why it takes time. Anyways, bad analogy, I guess. But I don't mean short experiences as in at literal painting. Like I look at it and like I look away, but as in like the game doesn't have to be like 10 hours. It could be like half an. I've played a game that took maybe an hour or something like that. And it was fine. It could be even less, especially for a mobile experience. It doesn't have to be that long, right? There is a company called Sock Pop who releases relatively short games, but what they do is, as a company, to sustain themselves, they have an interesting model, but ignoring that model, they just churn out a bunch of games over and over and over and over again, right? And I would consider them all, at least somewhat artful. Maybe not the pinnacle of art, but it's something, right? And that works well. And I actually wonder how well that could be applied to the mobile market. As far as I'm aware, they only release PC games. But that would seem to make sense to me in terms of mobile games. Especially because I think a lot of that has to do with the player base of mobile games. It's not the same as the PC player base at all, right? Whenever you see those stats of like, like X% of the world are gamers, it's like, wow, it's so high. Or you see like X% of it's around 50% of gamers are men and women. It's like these are heavily skewed by the mobile market and the fact that everybody and their mother has a phone and they have played like solitaire on it at least once. So that's why that's why you join like a Call of Duty lobby. It's like, why does everyone sound like men? And then it's like because they all are actually men, not literally, but a lot of them are actually men. Okay, it's actually disproportionately more men, but it seems that disproportionately more women play mobile games. So that's how the scales get tipped over there. And the reason why you could ask someone, hey, have you ever heard of X game? Say like, or have you ever played Call of Duty? And they're like, no, I never played one. It's like, oh, but I thought like 70-something% of people play video games. It's like, well, he probably just plays like like mobile game, which is fine or whatever. But he's not going to be familiar with like the general. The whole other gaming culture that exists outside of mobile gaming. I don't even know what the mobile game culture is. I don't know if there probably are, but I don't know if for these catch-up games if there's like forums like, oh yeah, I love catch-up games, and people talking about it and whatever. I don't know if they have communities like this. So it's a whole different world. But anyways, that's all to say. Retention, unlike in PC games and things like this, where you actually want people to play through your game and in hopes, well, if you're speaking purely monetarily in hopes that they give your game a good review, you're speaking purely from an artist perspective, ignoring any financial constraints because you actually want them to enjoy what you've created and experience it in full. Retention becomes important, but in a mobile game, your expected length, because the culture is different, the expected length of your game is way shorter, so you don't have to actually make something that is some like 20-hour epic story game or whatever. You don't have to do that. It can be very short. Even a story game, it can be a very short story. It's not like a good example of a game that's good, but take the Life is Strange like mobile demo thing or whatever, right? You could play that for free, and it's relatively short, but you can definitely go shorter, and that will still be fine, So those are my thoughts. I think typically in mobile gaming, the culture lends itself towards just like pure volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a tangential question about just mobile gaming in general, but is it really only culture that drives the gaming experience on mobile, or I should say drives the mobile game store? I guess that's actually the better way to put it. Or is there like some economic factors and other factors that sort of play into what, because every game is basically the same on mobile. Like it's like
a lot of them. You can definitely, if you look, you'll find things that are actually good and are, very different. For the purposes of the market research for a game I've been thinking about, I'm playing a game called Car X Drift Racing, which at first glance is like, wow, this is trash. I was like, actually, it's kind of good. It's like it has many like mobileisms of like, you can only play a certain amount of like levels, and they gotta go on cooldown for some time, or you can buy like a way to like expedite the cooldown process or whatever, and things like this. But if you ignore all the mobileisms, it's actually not bad. So yeah, there are diamonds out there. I wouldn't consider that a diamond necessarily. It's a more like iron in a world of coal, I guess. So it's a little bit shiny. So yeah, there are things out there. What were you saying now? I think I interrupted you.
I was just asking why is the mobile game market so samey on like I guess the top level?
I think because a lot of it is probably like, I'm guessing like a lot of people are just like people who are just like in like on like public transit and want to pass time, right? And like they're not, and if you're not like if you've never say like been part of like the PC gaming community or something like that, or console gaming or whatever, or a community that values it more as an art and less of like a random like thing I just do to like not stare at a wall for like an hour or whatever, then you might just go to the App Store. You see like the free like game. All there is like there's all they're making money off of is ads. So like it's uninvasive except for the data they're selling, but we ignore that. And all you have to do is like just download it. It's a small file, play instantly, and it's like monkey brain.
But what I'm saying is though, like someone could just do that, but like better. And you would think that there would there would be start to be some divergence to capture different markets of people. You know.
Well, we'll call that quality doesn't really mean much. Sorry, it means something. As you said, right? You like having, you said that in the last segment that all of this is useless if your art skills aren't actually good, right? Having a good product is useful. We see that is not necessarily the case in video games, but it definitely helps, right? Like it's like if you have two identical games, one of them is just better, right? They're the same thing, but like one is a objective improvement on the other one. It's like, well, why don't we play the other one? Well, think companies like Ketchup and Voodoo and stuff like that, and other mobile gaming companies, their marketing is just crazy, and it's not like a clever marketing campaign. It is literally, okay, so we have these other mobile games, just put ads everywhere on every mobile game that exists, and so then now when someone gets bored of their their free monkey brain game, they see, oh, I've seen this ad like 9,000 times at this point. Let's try this one, right? Finally, I'm kind of bored of this. Let me try this one. Click on the ad. I go to the next one. It's like a circle of money siphoning. But the thing is, the money siphons in one way. Really, usually, right? It'll I keep saying Ketchup because I'm just not familiar with other companies, but it'll siphon the Ketchup way, in Ketchup's way, because they're essentially like the biggest bidder in a way, right? They just put the most money in, and they get the most money out, kind of thing. You don't need a clever. It's very interesting because in outside of mobile, if you have ads on like mobile games or Facebook ads or whatever, you shouldn't expect like a great yield of players from this. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna like be like a it's not gonna yield many players. But I think it's because like these games are very simple. They're gonna be shown in very simple videos, and it's because people don't actually. The cost of actually playing it is so low. The time investment is low. The cost is literally free in terms of money, and the download size is negligible. You just do it, nothing to really think about. So, yeah, I think that's why it's like this.
Cool, sweet. Well, that's our last hot take. By the way, to people who are watching right now, I see a bunch of people watching on Rumble. Welcome to the show. Please let us know if you have your own hot take. You could comment on any of the videos, and I'll see it. But more effectively, if you want to head over to our Discord, link is in the description, and you can drop your hot take on there. We're guaranteed to cover it next Arguing with Reddit. If you've got any hot take about film, gaming, music, something in between, whatever, just throw them our way.
Yep, for sure.
Sweet. Well, you want to close out the show, Nathan? This is our time is up finally.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for watching the podcast. Thank you for sticking through. If you're watching live and you've been here from the start, that's awesome. So thank you so much. As everybody said, if you want to continue the conversation, feel free to join us on Discord. To get to our Discord, you can go to mixedmediapodcast.com, and from there you'll find the links to all our things, including Discord and other streaming platforms where you might wanna watch us as well. And once again, I didn't say at the start of this segment, but thank you to our supporters on Locals. That'll be Rob Sharma, 909 Crime, K Kairos, and Post. So thank you guys so much for the local support. And if you too want some fancy perks like us guaranteed reviewing your art, as long as it's like not weird, and some other perks like being able to use our live whiteboard that you can see if you're watching on a video streaming platform, then you too can subscribe to our Locals thing and get all those perks. So yeah, that's all right, I believe.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's all I can think of. We'll see you next week on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right, thanks for watching. And next week I might be in an audio booth, so I might have like a fancy mic and stuff and a proper setup. So we'll see.
Upgrade.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys next week. Thank you.
See ya.
Look, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then dead I'm on site. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah. No need for the snoozing. Big whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas is. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. You know, like lean back, brand new bits I live in. We pack, man, you never gon' like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like Christ, no need for the hype or